Take a look at the back of your hand for just a moment. Now compare it to the inside of your upper arm. The skin there is usually smoother, lighter, and often free of those brown spots that seem to appear out of nowhere as the years go by. Same body, same age, same genes. So why does one area stay relatively clear while another slowly collects dark patches? If these spots were caused simply by getting older, they would appear everywhere equally. But they don't. That tells us something important before we even begin. Those brown spots aren't simply a calendar on your skin. They're telling a much more interesting story. I'm Dr. John, and today I'd like to share 5 things about age spots that most people are never told. Not because doctors are hiding anything, but because routine office visits rarely leave enough time to explain them. Most appointments focus on one important question: is this spot dangerous? Once it's confirmed to be harmless, the conversation usually moves on. But harmless doesn't mean there's nothing worth understanding. And before you assume this is another video that ends with just wear sunscreen, stay with me. Sunscreen matters, but probably not for the reason you've always heard. In fact, one of the biggest mistakes people make has nothing to do with getting sunburned. We'll come back to that shortly. First, let's understand what an age spot really is. Because once you understand what's happening beneath the surface of your skin, everything else, from prevention to treatment, starts making much more sense. Deep within your skin are specialized cells called melanocytes. Think of them as tiny pigment factories. Their job is to produce melanin, the natural pigment that gives your skin its color and helps protect it from ultraviolet light. Whenever sunlight reaches your skin, these cells receive a simple instruction: produce more pigment. That's completely normal. It's how your skin creates a tan after time outdoors. The problem begins when some of these pigment cells stop responding normally. Instead of slowing down after the sun exposure ends, they continue producing extra pigment in the same small area year after year. Imagine a sprinkler that's supposed to water one section of a garden for 10 minutes. Now imagine it gets stuck in the on position. Eventually, that one patch becomes much darker than the rest of the lawn. Age spots develop in a surprisingly similar way. But that's only part of the story. Your skin also renews itself constantly. When you're younger, old skin cells carrying excess pigment are replaced relatively quickly. Fresh cells rise to the surface, while older ones gradually shed away. As we get older, that natural renewal process slows down. Pigment stays in the skin longer. New pigment continues arriving. Old pigment disappears more slowly. Over time, those darker patches become much easier to see. Notice something important here. Age spots are not caused by dirty skin. They are not a sign that your liver is failing. And despite the old nickname liver spots, they usually have nothing to do with liver disease. Most are simply the result of years of accumulated ultraviolet exposure, combined with the natural slowing of skin renewal. But sunlight isn't acting alone. Inside every cell, normal chemical reactions produce unstable molecules known as free radicals. Think of them as tiny sparks. Your body has natural antioxidant systems that keep those sparks under control. But over many decades, repeated sunlight, smoking, pollution, chronic inflammation, and normal aging can produce more oxidative stress than the skin can easily repair. As a result, pigment-producing cells become easier to activate, and some never completely quiet down again. That's one reason many people notice age spots appearing more rapidly in their 50s and 60s, even if their lifestyle hasn't changed very much. In many ways, your skin becomes a visible record of decades of life. Not because it's causing aging, but because it's revealing it. Now, here's something many people don't realize. Not every brown spot is actually an age spot. Some develop after cuts, burns, or skin inflammation. Others can be triggered by certain medications. and some may represent entirely different skin conditions that deserve medical attention. Later in this video, I'll show you a simple fingertip check that may help you recognize when a spot behaves like a typical age spot, and when it's time to have it evaluated by a dermatologist. It only takes a few seconds, but it's something many people have never been taught. Before we get there though, we need to clear up one of the biggest misunderstandings surrounding age spots. Every year, people spend hundreds of dollars on creams and home remedies that promise dramatic results in just days or weeks. Some ingredients are supported by good scientific evidence. Others are little more than clever marketing. Knowing the difference can save you money, protect your skin, and help you focus on treatments that actually have evidence behind them. So let's begin with the first thing doctors rarely have enough time to explain: what age spots really are, and why understanding that changes everything about how you care for your skin. Part 2. Now that we understand what age spots really are, let's talk about something just as important. Why do so many treatments fail? The answer is surprisingly simple. An age spot isn't a stain sitting on top of your skin that can simply be scrubbed away. It's the result of pigment-producing cells that have been receiving the wrong signals for years, sometimes decades. Think of your skin as a busy neighborhood. Every cell has a specific job. Some build new skin, some produce collagen to keep it firm, and others, the melanocytes we talked about earlier, produce pigment. These pigment cells don't work on their own. They respond to instructions. One of the most important comes from an enzyme called tyrosinase. You don't need to remember the name. Just think of it as the switch that tells pigment production to begin. Sunlight flips that switch. Inflammation can flip it too. So can oxidative stress, the gradual wear and tear that builds up over a lifetime. When those signals continue for years, some pigment cells remain overactive long after the original sun exposure has passed. The encouraging news is that these cells are still alive. That means their activity can often be influenced, not overnight, not with miracle products, but gradually, using treatments supported by good scientific evidence. Unfortunately, that's where many people are misled. You may have seen videos recommending lemon juice, baking soda, toothpaste, or apple cider vinegar to erase age spots naturally. It sounds appealing because these remedies are inexpensive and easy to find. The problem is that high-quality clinical research doesn't support these claims for common age spots, known medically as solar lentigines. In fact, some of these home remedies can do more harm than good. Lemon juice, for example, can make your skin more sensitive to sunlight. Instead of fading pigmentation, it may trigger irritation that leads to even darker discoloration, a condition called post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. This becomes even more important as we age. Older skin is naturally thinner. It loses moisture more easily, and it takes longer to recover from irritation. A treatment that causes only mild redness in younger skin may leave lingering discoloration in someone over 60. That's why gentle, evidence-based care is usually the safest approach. So what does have scientific support? One ingredient that dermatologists have trusted for years is niacinamide, a form of vitamin B3. Rather than bleaching the skin, niacinamide works in a much smarter way. Imagine those pigment factories loading boxes onto delivery trucks. Niacinamide doesn't shut down the factory. Instead, it reduces how much pigment reaches the upper layers of the skin, where those dark spots become visible. Clinical studies have shown that formulations containing around 5% niacinamide can gradually improve uneven pigmentation, while also strengthening the skin's protective barrier and reducing inflammation. Those additional benefits are especially valuable for aging skin. Another well-studied ingredient is vitamin C. Its main job isn't to erase pigment directly. Instead, it works as a powerful antioxidant. Earlier, we talked about free radicals acting like tiny sparks inside your skin. Vitamin C helps neutralize many of those sparks before they contribute to further damage. Some research also suggests it can modestly reduce new pigment formation, especially when combined with daily sun protection. Notice the wording, may improve, not guaranteed to erase. That's how real medicine works. It deals in evidence and probabilities, not promises. And here's one mistake I see all the time. People focus entirely on removing the spots they already have while doing nothing to prevent new ones. Imagine trying to empty a bathtub while the faucet is still running. You can remove water all day, but unless you slow the flow, you'll never make much progress. Your skin works the same way. Even the best skincare routine can only do so much if your skin continues receiving the same ultraviolet damage day after day. That's why successful treatment isn't just about fading existing spots. It's also about preventing tomorrow's spots from forming. And that brings us to one of the biggest misconceptions about sun damage. Many people believe they're safe because they rarely spend long days at the beach. But the type of sunlight responsible for many age spots often reaches us during completely ordinary moments. Your morning drive, reading beside a window, or simply spending time in a bright room filled with natural daylight. Understanding why that happens may completely change the way you think about protecting your skin. And that's exactly what we'll cover next. Now, let's talk about one of the biggest misconceptions surrounding age spots. Most people believe they come from spending too much time at the beach. Ironically, that's often not where the real damage happens. It's the sunlight you barely notice. The light coming through your car window during your morning commute. The sunshine pouring through your kitchen window while you're making breakfast. The afternoon light beside your favorite chair where you read, knit, or simply relax. These moments don't feel dangerous. You don't feel your skin burning. In fact, you probably aren't thinking about your skin at all. But your skin is paying attention. To understand why, it helps to know that sunlight isn't just one kind of light. The two ultraviolet rays that matter most are called UVB and UVA. Most people are familiar with UVB because it's responsible for sunburn. Spend enough time outside without protection and your skin turns pink or red. That's your body's warning signal. But UVA behaves very differently. It penetrates deeper into the skin and plays a major role in premature aging, including wrinkles, loss of elasticity, and many age spots that develop over time. Unlike UVB, UVA usually doesn't announce itself with pain. Think of UVB as a sudden thunderstorm. You notice it immediately. UVA is more like a slow leak in your roof. One drop doesn't seem important, but after years of exposure, the damage becomes impossible to ignore. Here's something that surprises many people. Most ordinary window glass blocks the majority of UVB rays. That's why you usually don't get sunburned while driving. But UVA can pass through standard glass much more easily. That means years of driving, sitting beside large windows, or working near natural daylight can gradually contribute to uneven pigmentation, especially on the side of the face or hand closest to the window. Dermatologists have documented remarkable examples of this. One well-known medical case involved a delivery driver whose face showed dramatically more aging on the side closest to the driver's window after decades on the road. Same genetics, same diet, same skincare routine. The biggest difference was simply years of unequal sun exposure. Now, this doesn't mean you should fear sunlight. Sunlight also supports your body's natural sleep-wake cycle, helps regulate mood, and contributes to vitamin D production under the right conditions. The goal isn't to avoid the sun, the goal is to understand it. And once you understand it, protecting your skin becomes much simpler. One of the easiest habits you can build is using a broad spectrum sunscreen with an SPF of at least 30 every day on skin that's regularly exposed to sunlight. Notice I said broad spectrum. That's important because it means the sunscreen helps protect against both UVA and UVB rays. Think back to those pigment factories we discussed earlier. Every day your skin is exposed to ultraviolet light, those cells receive another signal to produce pigment. Sunscreen doesn't erase existing age spots, but it helps reduce the repeated signals that encourage new pigment to form. In other words, it's helping protect tomorrow's skin, not just today's. And here's a mistake that almost everyone overlooks. They carefully apply sunscreen to their face, then completely forget their hands. Take another look at the back of your hands. For many adults over 60, they reveal age even faster than the face. That's because our hands spend decades gripping steering wheels, pushing shopping carts, gardening, carrying groceries, walking the dog, and sitting in sunlight without much protection. They quietly accumulate thousands of hours of ultraviolet exposure. The good news? Protecting them takes less than 10 seconds. Simply applying sunscreen to the backs of your hands each morning can become one of the easiest long-term habits for maintaining healthier looking skin. Small habits repeated consistently almost always outperform expensive treatments used only once in a while. Now, if you already have age spots, you may be wondering, can they actually fade? The answer is yes, at least to some degree for many people, but it depends on the treatment, your skin, and having realistic expectations. Let's look at the options that have the strongest scientific evidence, and which treatments are worth discussing with a dermatologist. Now let's answer one of the most common questions I hear. If you already have age spots, can they actually fade? For many people, the answer is yes, but gradually. The goal isn't to erase decades of sun exposure overnight. The goal is to support your skin's natural renewal process and prevent new spots from developing. Think of your skin like a moving walkway at an airport. Healthy new skin cells are constantly rising toward the surface, while older cells are shed away. When we're younger, that process moves relatively quickly. As we age, it slows down. Pigment remains visible longer because those older skin cells simply aren't leaving as efficiently. One group of ingredients with decades of scientific research behind it is retinoids, which are derived from vitamin A. The best known prescription option is tretinoin. Over time, it encourages faster skin cell turnover, helping improve certain types of sun damage, while also softening fine lines and improving skin texture. It's one of the most thoroughly studied treatments in dermatology. However, it's not the right choice for everyone. Retinoids can cause dryness, redness, and peeling, especially during the first few weeks. That's why many dermatologists recommend starting slowly, perhaps just 2 nights a week, and increasing only as your skin adjusts. For people who don't need a prescription, retinol is a gentler over-the-counter alternative. It usually works more slowly, but many people find it easier to tolerate. And just like the other treatments we've discussed, patience is essential. Healthy skin changes gradually. If age spots are more noticeable, or you're looking for faster cosmetic improvement, a dermatologist may recommend treatments such as cryotherapy, chemical peels, intense pulsed light, or certain laser procedures. Each works differently. Each has benefits, limitations, and potential side effects. The best choice depends on your skin type, your medical history, your medications, and, most importantly, whether the spot has been correctly diagnosed. Because that brings us to perhaps the most important message in today's video. Not every brown spot is an age spot. Most are harmless. Some are not. And knowing the difference could make a real difference to your health. Now, no home test can diagnose skin cancer. Only a qualified healthcare professional can do that. But there is a simple observation that may help you decide when it's time to schedule an appointment. Gently run your fingertip across one of the brown spots on the back of your hand. Don't look at it yet, just notice how it feels. Many common age spots, also called solar lentigines, are completely flat and smooth. You usually notice them with your eyes much more than with your fingertips. But if a spot feels rough, almost like fine sandpaper, catches your finger, flakes repeatedly, or never seems to heal, it deserves medical attention. One possible cause is actinic keratosis, a condition related to years of sun damage. While many actinic keratoses never become cancer, some can eventually develop into squamous cell carcinoma, which is why dermatologists usually recommend evaluating and treating them rather than simply watching them. You may also notice raised, waxy-looking brown growths that appear to sit on top of the skin. These are often seborrheic keratoses. They're generally harmless and become increasingly common with age, although some people choose to have them removed if they become irritated or catch on clothing. The important point is this: different brown spots tell different stories, and appearance alone isn't always enough to know which story you're seeing. That's why dermatologists often use a special magnifying device called a dermatoscope to examine details that aren't visible to the naked eye. There's also a simple checklist every adult should remember. It's called the ABCDE rule. A stands for asymmetry. One half doesn't match the other. B stands for border, edges that are irregular or poorly defined. C stands for color, multiple colors within the same spot. D stands for diameter, especially if it's larger than about 6 millimeters, though smaller spots can also be concerning. E stands for evolving, any spot that's changing in size, shape, color, or symptoms. That last one may be the most important. If a spot begins growing, bleeding, itching, crusting, or simply looks different from the rest, don't ignore it. Have it examined. Dermatologists also talk about something called the ugly duckling sign. If you have many spots that all look fairly similar, but one stands out as completely different, that's another reason to have it checked. Different doesn't automatically mean dangerous, but it does mean it's worth a professional evaluation. So before we finish, let's bring everything together. Age spots are usually not caused by poor hygiene. They're not typically a sign of liver disease. For most people, they're the result of years of sun exposure, combined with the natural changes that occur as our skin ages. Be cautious of products that promise dramatic overnight results. Healthy skin rarely changes that quickly. Instead, focus on habits that are supported by good evidence. Protect your skin every day. Use proven ingredients consistently if they're appropriate for you. And if you're considering prescription treatments or cosmetic procedures, speak with a board-certified dermatologist or your primary healthcare provider to determine what's best for your individual skin. Finally, take a few minutes once a month to become familiar with your own skin. Not with fear, with awareness. The better you know what's normal for you, the easier it becomes to notice meaningful changes. And that's one of the most valuable habits you can develop. Before we finish, I'd like to leave you with one final thought. Many people see age spots as nothing more than a cosmetic inconvenience. I see something different. I see evidence of a lifetime. Your skin has protected you every single day through sunshine, wind, heat, cold, and countless environmental challenges. Those brown spots aren't proof that your skin has failed. They're a reminder of how hard it's been working for decades. The goal isn't perfect skin. The goal is healthy, protected skin that continues serving you well for years to come. If you found today's video helpful, I'd love to have you join us here on The Calming Cure. Each week, we translate medical research into practical, easy-to-understand advice designed especially for adults over 40, without fear, hype, or miracle claims. If that's the kind of health information you value, consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you won't miss our next conversation. And before you go, I'd love to hear from you. How long have you noticed age spots on your hands or face? Have you ever asked your doctor about them? Or did you simply assume they were a normal part of aging? Share your experience in the comments. I read them, and many of our future videos begin with the questions you ask. Until next time, take good care of your skin, and even more importantly, take good care of yourself. I'll see you in the next video.